So yeah, so that would be my rite of passage. Not the caffeine all nighter. No, just go work retail for a month and then come holler at me. Come let me know what you
Yeah.
and, and and then we can go from there.
There you go. You know what? I've never heard anybody make Walmart sound so deep. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another episode of season 2 of the Black Student Success Podcast, where we bring you insight and guidance from successful Black professionals and students. My name is Selvin, and of course, we appreciate all the support. So today we've got Tyre Shambee, who is a member of the National Guard. So we're going to talk to him about what his experience has been like, what the National Guard actually is, and maybe that's something that can benefit you. So Tyre, welcome to the show. How's it going, man?
It's going well. It's going well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for joining us. So let's start things off by asking, who is Tyre Shambee?
I'm just a guy. Now I'm playing. No, I'm homegrown Chicago kid. Moved from up north to out south suburbs, back up north. I'm just here, man. Just really trying to do the best that I can and being who I am, accepting where I've come from and what shaped me to do the things that I am.
There you go. So with all of those different experiences that you've had growing up, moving all over the place, going through school and all that, it somehow led you to the National Guard. So before we kind of get into, what motivated you to take that path, can you talk about what the National Guard actually is for some of our audience members?
Oh, yeah, no problem. So, to make it short and sweet, short and simple, the National Guard is a component of the U.S. Army. But namely, and more so, the National Guard, they are your neighbors, friends, family, people you go to school with. They're the ones who stay back. So this is the way I look at it, right? Active Army, so big Army, they're your brothers and your sisters and everybody that went off to college, right? National Guard is the family members that stayed home. We're at community colleges. We're making sure that family comes first. Neighborhood comes first. So that's the best way to think of the National Guard. If big Army is your family members that went off to college, we're the ones really that stayed back to make sure mom's okay, dad's okay, grandma, grandpa. Just to make sure the community is good and that you have somewhere to come back to once you're done with your 4 years.
There you go. And so what motivated you to take that path, especially in comparison to that big, brother sister role of the National Army? What was the thing that brought you to National Guard?
It's home first. My idea has always been home first. It doesn't make any sense in my mind to go big Army and then come back and you have nowhere to come back to. So it's always home first, family first, make sure that everybody has somewhere to return to. That was one of the main things that had me, enlist, as well as just thinking about going this route as well.
Yeah. And in terms of the components, I know that you also have the basic training element that's to it. Now, once you've kind of gone through that, what are some of the different things that you can do or that you can be called to when the National Guard is either, called to a certain event or, in action? What does that look like in a sense?
Right. Okay. So like you said, we do have basic training, and that's the same training system that Big Army goes through. We go through that with them. But when we're called up, we're normally called up on a state level. So state active duties. For example, last year when COVID first hit and we had a lot of riots in the cities and people were just losing their minds, the National Guard was called in for that because that's a state issue. That's something that you would see us take a role in. When I first joined, my unit had to go down to Southern Illinois, to help out with the flooding down there. That's a state issue. That's a state problem. So we're really going to help out with most of once again, of the stateside missions. So any state issues, if we do get the opportunity to go overseas, then we become, a component of big army, and then we'll start taking broader missions.
Okay. So it's, and do you ever get called for any, out of state, with us being in Illinois, do you get called for something in Wisconsin, or is it just kind of kept to what's in Illinois for you personally?
So for me, it's what's kept in Illinois. So there are times where we are called to other states.
Okay.
So recent issue, what I can use for an example is actually perfect. The storming of the Capitol building. Right. So since we all know that DC is not an actual state, they had National Guard members from Virginia, Maryland, Baltimore, almost everywhere from the East Coast come down to DC. We even had some of the guys from my unit fly out to DC to help out with that. So depending on what the situation and what the issue is, other states can call their neighboring states, their buddy states, like, hey, can you guys send, 400 or 500 additional bodies to help out? So it is like a community in that sense. But depending on the mission and what the emergency is, we can be called to assist other states if the need is there.
Okay. So, it has that flexibility in terms of, again, like you said, depending on whatever the situation is.
Correct.
Cool. Okay, good. And then, are you trained in terms of, being armed in some of those situations, or do those situations, are those ones that you would have to make sure that you're armed for whatever, was happening at that time? Or do you generally provide assistance that doesn't require you to have that?
So, I mean, it really depends. We are trained, for those instances where it's like, hey, you're going to go out there, you're going to have your firearm with you, but it's our rules and regulations. They're extremely strict, like narrowly strict. So here's an example, right? So when we went to Chicago last year, we had a couple JAG officers came down, right? So basically military lawyers. They're like, hey, don't shoot at anybody, right? Makes sense. They're like, no, like really, don't shoot at anybody. If you can't point out the person who shot at you or threw something at you, you cannot, under any circumstances, retaliate. Like, it's, when I say strict, like it's one of those like, hey, you have to pay attention and know exactly what you're doing before you do it, and then ask for permission, and then wait, and then go ahead. So yeah, it's really strict in that sense, but it's helpful. But to go back and answer your question, yeah, we are trained in those situations. They normally brief us before and let us know, like, hey, you are going to have a weapon, you aren't going to have a weapon. So that way we kind of have an idea of the situation that we're going into. But, we also understand that things can change on the fly. So it may be, hey, have it with you, but keep it in the vehicle. Make sure you're able to get to it if something escalates and you have to, protect yourself or whoever else is nearby in that situation.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that explanation, especially for those who might not know that, they tend to more of those domestic issues, as it was explained. So that's really good to know. Now, what skills would you say are beneficial to have if you're thinking about pursuing the National Guard?
Beneficial skills. First and foremost, be in shape. Stay in shape. Yes, circle is a shape, but make sure you're in a shape. I say that jokingly, but really the best skill to have is being open. There's going to be a lot being thrown at you. You're going to have people who you've never spoken to that are going to talk to you sideways. And it's being open and being able to accept any criticism that comes towards your way. Most of the time, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because they want to make sure that you're doing it right. and that you're not injuring yourself or somebody else in the, in the area. So be open, be open and be accepting of anything that comes towards you. That would be the best skill that I can suggest anybody have or anybody bring with them if they're considering the National Guard.
Okay, so it's really just keeping in mind that there's a right and reason to whatever you're going to go through as you're going through training, and then eventually once you're actually in a situation.
Correct. Yeah. Now I'll be honest, there are going to be some times where you're going to be like, this makes no sense. There's a logical way to do it, and logic doesn't follow, because normally form follows function. But once you get into it and you see why it's done the way that it's done, it all makes sense. Once again, it may not seem logical, but it all makes sense once you actually get into it and you start putting that training into practice.
Okay. All right. So now, as you kind of, reflect on some of those experiences that you've gone through with the National Guard and everything else that's led up to that, what's one piece of advice that you would give to your former self? And that former self can be anybody. That could be Tyre 2 years ago. That could be Tyre 10 years ago. Tyre as, a youngin' when he was still in Chicago. What piece of advice would you give to yourself?
I probably would have joined sooner. That's one thing. I probably would have joined sooner. But the advice that I would give to myself, is this is something that you want to do. Go for it. Understand that they're going to be able to help you out with school if this is something that you want to go through, if this is something that you want to pursue, and just telling myself that there are other options that I didn't know was out there. That this is an option that if somebody would have told me when I was 10 or 12 years old, I probably would have jumped on sooner. So understanding your options and once you decide on something, to go right ahead and do it. Don't second guess it. Don't say, yeah, I'm not going to do it because this isn't what the family wants to do. Follow your first option, because normally nine times out of 10, that's the right one.
There you go. And then just to kind of build off of the fact that you didn't know that this was an option, was it something like where you were aware of like the traditional Army, branch, and the Navy and the Air Force, and that's something that you weren't really leaning towards? Is that what probably led you to make that decision later than earlier?
Yeah, that's you hit it. You said it correctly, because everybody you only talk about big Army. Like you said, it's always Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, but you don't know that those branches have reserve components. Like there's an Air Force reserves, there's a Navy reserves, there's Marine reserves. Like what? Marines have reserves? Crazy. But these are options that if I would have known, coming right out of high school, if I would have known that, for example, the Illinois National Guard will pay for you to go to any Illinois school, any state funded school, 100%. If I would have known that coming out the gate, dude, I would have been at like UIC, U of I would have had a master's degree.
Yeah.
It's information like that, which is withheld. We kind of have to work twice as hard to get that information.
Mm-hmm.
So if I would have known that, coming out of high school, yeah, I would have joined right away, knowing that my school would have been paid for.
Yeah,
just that fact alone is one of the things that would have got me in.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, because some things like, signing up to go to West Point, can be a little bit intimidating, where you are, you're basically having that Army training, and it's a, military school, and it's like at all the time. And then even maybe sometimes like an ROTC program, for the Army or the Navy, that might be a little bit intimidating. But I'm glad that you pointed out that there are these reserve options, through these branches that might be a little bit more suitable for somebody who may not want all the aspects of an Army or a Navy or, big military branch. So it's really good that you pointed those out and you're able to kind of talk about those firsthand.
Yeah, man. The more information that I can help and hold and give out to people, that's all it's about.
Yeah.
Not withholding the information myself, but sharing it and giving it to people who are interested.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So another question that we have, and this is always good because everybody's answer is going to be different, but how do you define success? What is it? What are the aspects that, tell you that whatever you're pursuing, you are making that, you're in the right direction of being successful? How would you define that?
Happiness.
Mm.
I know it sounds weird, but if you're happy and content with where you are and what you're doing, then you're successful. I believe in our culture and in the world now, we equate success with how much money we have, how much wealth we have. But we really don't look at it and think about it as a happiness thing. Like I know for a fact, as of right now, I'm successful in the National Guard because I'm happy, because the people that I work with are happy. So that there is my answer, is my point. Like, okay, I'm successful. This is what I wanted to do. I'm here. Yeah, some days aren't going to be the best days. But even with that in mind, if I could wake up every morning, one day above ground, with a smile on my face, I'm successful. I've done something that most people won't think about doing, and I'm able to give information to people who are considering it. So once again, to answer your question, how do I define success? I define it as being happy and content with the decisions that I've made and what I'm doing with those decisions.
There you go. Very, very well put. What sounds like something so simple can definitely be the main points. And like you said, a lot of people do equate it to money. And if that's what their true sense of success is, then
Right.
more power to you.
Right.
But like you said, it doesn't have to be equated to money. It can be just the general feeling that you are happy with what you're doing and how you're getting it. So thank you for that. Now, a couple of questions before we wrap up, just to know you a little bit better. What's one rite of passage that you think all students should go through? Some people would develop a caffeine addiction, the all-nighter, those are some of the things that that all the students, you might consider a rite of passage. What would you say is one of those rites of passages?
Everybody needs to work in retail.
Okay. Elaborate on that one.
So it's a weird one, but I was thinking about it for a while, and this is something that I actually believe. And I say it because over in Israel, right, and I'm just going to use them as an example, they have everybody, once they turn 18, join the military, right? That's their rite of passage. But I believe over here, everybody should work retail because you learn how to talk to people. And that's something that I believe the generations behind us have missed. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to interact with people when someone asks them a question and they don't have the answer, or when you have someone who's in a bad mood already and they're just looking for somebody to pull down with them. So once again, so I believe the rite of passage for the US, for us, everybody should work retail and understand how crappy it is, but also just to get that understanding of how you speak to somebody, how you approach a situation when you don't have the answer, when you're kind of thrust into a situation where you have to take lead. So that would be my rite of passage, not the caffeine all nighter. No, just go work retail for a month and then come holler at me, come let me know what you and then we can go from there.
There you go. You know what? I've never heard anybody make Walmart sound so deep.
Imagine working Walmart 24/7, right? When they were open 24 hours a day and working that overnight shift. Think of the things you would see and the people you would interact with. So yeah, work retail and then come talk to me in a month afterwards and be like, I'm sorry, you were right. Let's move forward.
I'll put my phone down. I got you.
Right, yeah.
Perfect. And then lastly, we've all got one of these things. What do you think is one thing that might get your black card revoked?
Dude, I don't eat seafood, bro. Like if that's what it takes, you can have mine right now. I'll go hang out with the Spanish people down the street. But yeah, that'll get my black card revoked, man. I don't eat seafood. I can prepare it. I don't eat it myself. I just don't. It's I just don't, man. I can't. It's
so no shrimp, no so all right. So if there's a birthday party at Red Lobster, what are you doing there? What are you getting?
Do they have steak? Do they have a burger? Anything but Cheddar Bay biscuits? Yeah, I'll take a whole tray of those for myself.
There you go.
Cannot do the seafood, man. Cannot.
All right, man. No, hey, no judgment here. You know that. That's what's up. Well, Tyre, thank you for your time and really kind of going into detail as far as your experience in the National Guard. Any last words before we wrap things up?
Just do a little bit more research. Make sure you know exactly what you're looking for, what you want. If you are thinking about going into the armed forces, check out all the branches, see what they offer, because I'll tell you, each one is going to try to tell you something different. They're going to tell you what the other ones don't have. But if it's the educational benefits that you're looking for, if you're looking to go to a state-funded school, join the National Guard. Talk to a recruiter. Let them tell you, we'll pay for your tuition 100%. All you need is C's, because C's get degrees. I guarantee you'll have a bachelor's degree. You'll have money in your pocket. But first and foremost, make sure you know the path that you want to take before you speak to anybody. Do research on your own and then reach out and contact someone.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks again for your time and sharing your guidance. And thanks to everybody who's been watching and listening. Don't forget to follow us at inquirehire.com. We're also on social media, and we'll make sure to have Tyre's information just in case you have any additional questions in regards to the National Guard Forum. So until next time, peace.
Peace.